What's going on, you guys? This is Matt Thibeau here with the Landscaper Marketing Show, and today we're sitting down with Jeffrey Scott. Jeffrey is an investor, he's an entrepreneur, and he's the owner of two 7 and 8 figure businesses. He has decades of experience in the landscaping industry, and at the age of 34, Jeffrey took over a design, build, maintenance business and expanded it to $15 million. Today, Jeffrey offers personalized coaching, consulting, and he runs a peer group specifically for landscaping businesses called the Leader's Edge. What's going on, Jeffrey?
Hey, I'm standing in here while you're sitting, so I'm getting my a little bit of exercise while we're kicking this off.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I'm super excited to chat with you today and just kind of dive into everything that you're doing. And, hopefully a lot of landscapers listening to this can just kind of walk away with some like really great mindset shifts and just overall, tactics and strategies and such. So, first things first, kind of take us back. Like, sounds like you've been doing this for a long time. And, in your bio there, age 34, jumping into, a business and expanding it. Like, take us back to where kind of all this started for you.
Well, I grew up in the industry, so I grew up in a family that built and builds swimming pools. My first job was emptying the garbage in that company, and then uh, helping with the blueprints and changing. You wouldn't even remember this, but changing out the ammonia and the blueprint machines and eventually cleaning swimming pools. So many guys in our industry and gals start off pushing a lawnmower, and for me, it was pushing a leaf back and yeah, cleaning pools and helping winterize them and summarize them.
Wow.
So
So then,
that's where it really all started. If you want to go way
yeah,
back,
yeah, that's really cool. And how old were you at that age?
I mean, 7 when I first
Oh,
got
wow.
started.
Okay, yeah. So you've literally like you've done this for your whole life. So like from there, going leading up to the point of like, what I just referenced there, like when you kind of jumped into that company, like what was that shift like? Like how did that kind of start?
Well, I took a whole break before I came back into the landscape world, because I grew up in the industry and it was so difficult. I thought to myself, man, I am never going to do this again. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. It's hard work. And so I went to college and I got a degree, and then I went and got my business degree, and I did business consulting, and I did that in Europe of all places. And then after a while, I decided, I really want to come back and rejoin the family business. And when I finally did that at 34, I did that after doing international business consulting. And so I brought that perspective to our family's business, which was about 5 million back then, and used it to help modernize and grow the business. And I did that in, God, we could have a whole separate podcast on that and working in a multi-owner business. Um, did that, did my run, and my wife and I decided we want to go back into consulting and really focus on working with entrepreneurs. Leadership is hard, and I found that my favorite part of what I did is just really was being with other entrepreneurs and helping other entrepreneurs. I
Yeah.
didn't really like corporate consulting where you're dealing with corporate owners, kind of no heart, no soul. I just love working with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. We actually prefer that as well too. When you work with when you're delegated to like, someone who's kind of managing you instead of working with the business owner, I do find like I don't prefer that either. Um, I think it's really cool your story. So like what were some of the, I know that we could spend a lot of time on that, but like what were some of the specific drivers when you went back into that business and it was starting off at 5 million? What were some of like the main things that you kind of looked at? Cause I know that you've got a book and it's all about referrals. And then you've got another book that's all about like hiring people. And then you've got another system that's all about like the 9 profit drivers and such. So like, what were some of the key things that you really pushed on in that business to scale it up?
Well, I started off In the services division, so maintenance, property maintenance, and pool service. And I started by reorganizing the contracts,
Right.
and taking not piecemeal, yeah, uh, taking work that we sold by pieces,
Yeah.
um, and creating an annual contract, one price per property. And that totally changed the game on the pool services division. Now it's standard. Now you'd like be yawning, but really back then nobody was doing it. And it changed us. I'll just give you one quick quote. It changed us from figuring out how to push chlorine, how do we sell more product, to, oh no, it's one price. How do we minimize the use of chlorine and push less product so we could be
Right.
more efficient? It's a total change of mindset when you're selling results versus when you're pushing hours and selling, yeah, product by the, by the pound or hours by the hour. Complete mindset shift. And I think everyone should, no matter what business you're in, you should take that approach of selling the result. I just hired a lawyer, a new estate lawyer. I was so happy when he gave me a fixed price. I'm like, oh, lawyers don't
Yeah.
really understand it as an industry, but I was so happy for him and for us. Um, so that's how I started off. I mean, you go ahead and ask me questions, but maintenance obviously is where it's at. I actually had a big fight with my family, and it never, not a fight with fisticuff, but a strategic fight that that never quite rectified itself while I was at the company. And I said, we make money on design build, and maybe every other year, it seems, and we really do great in pool service and maintenance. I was able to bring gross margins in pool service up to 65% for a product that we charge twice as much as the typical competitor.
Okay.
And I'm like, we should flip this on its head. And everyone else grew up from the, installing world, and they all thought the idea was terrible and hated me for it. And that's one of the few reasons I left. And of course, years later, oh, they suddenly said, we're going to grow service and we're going to try to build the value of the business, uh, which was the right thing to do. And um, I think timing of your ideas is also really important. You can have a great idea, it
Yeah.
could be the wrong timing where you just can't sell it, but it doesn't mean you should drop the idea. It just means the conditions weren't right to implement it. Sometimes you have to come back a year or two later, and it's the right time.
Yeah. You were kind of ahead of your time too, because like nowadays subscription models and like reoccurring revenue and stuff like that's pretty standard. But that's definitely like, that probably wasn't as much of a thing back then. So it sounds like that was one of the main things that you first looked at was like introducing reoccurring revenue for the business. So then they have the stability, right? So they're not always hunting for like next projects and such. Yeah.
And it's how I built our coaching and peer group business. It's all subscription based, or I mean, not all of it, but it's mostly that, or some uh or something similar to that.
Yeah.
So I took that same, I've seen the ups and downs of design build. And of course, you can make a lot of money and you figure it out and it really works. But where we were in Connecticut, it really works. And the stock market goes down, and then the next year it doesn't work. And so I designed a coaching business that was more stable.
Hmm. We like working with a lot of the design build guys because the average order value is so high that like we just need to get them a handful of jobs per month and they're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yes,
Whereas with the maintenance stuff, it's a little bit more of like an SEO play or like building up those accounts, so it is a different like marketing strategy, I would
completely.
say. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have the reoccurring revenue and then, you could go out and do some of these bigger projects and stuff on top of that. So yeah.
100%.
Yeah. What were like some of the marketing strategies that you like were kind of implementing with this business or like some of the businesses that you work with in general? Like, I know that you have that book that's all about referrals and such. Like, is that kind of the first thing that you look at? Like, how can we get more referrals going? Or like, what are some of the things that you look for?
Well, you just asked me at least two different questions. I'll answer them both. So back then, we were very big into branding, and so branding doesn't mean just pretty trucks, although you know, uh, and it doesn't even mean getting your colors consistent across all the different visual aspects of your company. Yes, it means that, but it also means figuring out your niche with your product that serves a client that there's depth in that market, and you can be a leader in your niche in that depth,
Yeah.
in that market with depth, and then building the team and the team's goals and the culture around that niche and value system, service ethic, if you will, uh, and then aligning that with the visual aspects of your branding. And so that was very, very, very important. Really kind of playing marketing for the long haul.
Yeah.
And so that was very important. Tracking our numbers was very important.
Yeah.
Back when I was doing this, postcards brought a tremendous ROI, and they've kind of come and gone. A lot of people have stopped using them and only use SEO, and then they get rediscovered
Yeah.
again and again. And when you're selling pools, you only need a couple postcards. And so, uh, when I was driving the business, that was before SEO and AI, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely a big believer in digital, but there's there's marketing's a big world. And if you want
Yeah.
to separate yourself, there's many ways to do that. So I would say the branding was the most important thing. Obviously, your what your clients think about you and how they talk about you behind your back
Yeah.
is critical. And then making yourself talk worthy. Like, who talks about their mowing company behind their back? Nobody. Only complaints.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
true.
But if you're building someone's backyard environment and you do full service and you wow them, they're going to want to talk about you.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to talk about their designer, right? And if the service behind that firm is a wow, yeah, people will talk about that. If nothing else, if as a we're business people, our clients are business people often. We appreciate other good business people, and so that's absolutely key before you start spending money on marketing, right? You've got to have the whole
Yeah.
service engine, service process, service mode, the steps in your service figured out and scalable before you pour money, on the fire. It's like what Mr. Wonderful says in Shark Tank. Hey, you need to have a business model that's working, and I'll pour money, fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
And that's the same with marketing. If you don't have things worked out, you could be shooting yourself in the foot by doing paid marketing on top of that.
100%. Yeah. Sometimes we get clients where they have like negative reviews or they don't really have their production figured out. And so oftentimes we'll be like, hey, we need to do like the groundwork here because oftentimes, like what you were saying, if those ducks aren't in a row, marketing is just going to like break your business. Basically, it's going to amplify everything. You touched on a lot of cool things. Like I personally think like a lot of online marketing guys will hate on print and they'll be like, "Oh, it's untrackable," or like whatever. But honestly, like we encourage our clients to do print as well. We say like, "Hey, when you land a job, like put some door hangers around, like in the neighborhood, have the lawn signs, like flyers, like all that stuff is great." And it's true. I actually have a friend who he started off doing online marketing and then he wasn't getting too much success there. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to try doing flyers. So he does like delivered to your door. And he noticed that those started like really taking off for his clients. So he actually found his own little niche within like print marketing. And that's specifically what he focuses on. So I think it's very much like a pendulum. It's like people get tired of seeing like one type of thing and then another type of thing works and such. So you're absolutely right for sure. Um, The other thing too is like you were talking about like, making sure that people are actually talking about your company in like a positive way.
Yeah.
Are there any like specific strategies that you kind of do to like engineer those conversations or like, for example, with our company, we like to send clients like a nice welcome package, because not a lot of like marketing companies really do that. So we want to send them a welcome package, like, hey, welcome aboard, just to make it feel a little bit more like an experience because we are so digital, right? Like we're not face to face. Is that kind of what you're talking about in terms of trying to make a better client experience, or is there like anything else?
That's a really great question. So think about you as a consumer. When are you most surprised by a company? The bar is very low. You're
Yeah.
most surprised when they when the contractor or the vendor when they communicate with you and respond to your communication, uh, when they show up when they say they're going to, when they call you ahead of time if they can't make their schedules. It the bar is very low, and yet not enough companies do that. And so the key, I believe, is don't focus on the frosting just yet. Make sure the cake is solid.
I like
Like,
that.
make sure the service works. If you do the frosting without the cake, it'll backfire. I've hired since I moved to New Orleans, 2 design build firms and a few maintenance firms. We had one design film firm do the back and one do the front. And the guy in the back had the whole Christmas package, or I think it was Christmas. That was very nice, but he really fell down on some basics that really aggravated me. And now I'm an educated consumer, but I was also willing to pay whatever he was going to charge me just to get what he was promising me. But nah, he 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 fell down in a few spots, and I think he maybe had some personal issues on the
Yeah.
weekend that got in the way. Uh, and so his gift that he gave me was like kind of aggravating. So
Right. Yeah.
you
That
got
makes sense.
if you get the basics done, that is brag worthy, and then you can do uh, things that people will appreciate, and the more personal, the better, right? So I could give a Christmas gift to you, or I could know what your favorite charity is, or your favorite bottle of wine, or your favorite fill in the blank, and then just personally drop that off to you. Now that would have a nice big impact, but all the extras sit on the shoulders of the foundation.
Yeah.
You got to get that foundation working really well.
That's a really good point, and I've kind of experienced that too, actually. That's funny that you said that because it's like, I've experienced services where they sent me a gift or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay," but, like, I didn't really get what I wanted, which was just, like, a service.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, that's really good, that's cool. So, like, what is there anything else that you feel like is really important when it comes to marketing these days or sales in general that a lot of landscapers miss? Let's say that they get, the operations and that stuff right. Is there anything that you see specifically when you're working with landscapers where it's like, this is a common pattern?
When will this be published?
Um, this will probably go live in like maybe like a week and a half.
Okay. Because I'm holding a sales symposium in like 2 weeks on March 10th.
Oh, cool.
So if anybody wants to attend that, it's virtual. If you go to jeffreyscott.biz and you go to the events, you can get it and sign up for it. And I was just mentioning that because I just sent out my newsletter that I send out every week. And the title was, do you have a sales problem or a marketing problem?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get that wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people will say, oh, I have a sales problem. Like I was just talking to one client, Pete. Hey, Pete, if you're listening, we're talking about the problem with sales for this year. And we talked and talked and talked. No, the real problem was leads. It was a marketing problem. He thought it was a sales problem. And sometimes it's the other way around where, uh, I need more leads. And why? Oh, your sales process is just burning through the leads.
Yeah.
And so figuring that out is so important. And it changes in different years. It could flip flop, but you you got to ask, the 5 times why. That's that whole Japanese
Yeah,
expression.
yeah, yeah, to go deeper, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's, I know you asked me about marketing. So I think, do you have a marketing problem or do you have a sales problem? And if you have a marketing or sales problem, clearly once you go down that road, it could be one of 5 different problems, but it's good to know
Yeah, I agree.
globally what we're trying to solve.
Yeah, I don't know, like, where it kinda came from, but over time of working with landscapers, I started to develop, like, a really simple system that I call the 50-30 rule, which is basically, like, on average, I started seeing of the leads we generate for guys, about 50% minimum should go in for an estimate, and then the other 50% would be disqualified or, like, not a good fit or whatever. And then of those estimates, generally around 30% should close. So it's not perfect, but when we're quoting a landscaper on, like, ad spend or how many leads do you need or whatever, I kinda use those numbers and reverse engineer it, and then I say, "Okay, you're looking at this much cost per lead, so you should spend around this much, and that'll get you, the 4 or 5 jobs you want a month based off of that."
Yeah.
And then when we jump on a call with a landscaper and we're going through all the leads and their appointments and their sales, we'll use the same thing. So we'll be like, oh, so of these leads, how many appointments did you get? Oh, you got less than 50%. Well, like maybe it's an appointment setting thing. How fast are you jumping on the call? So we'll kind of do it that way. I'm curious of like what strategy you do to kind of figure out with your buddy there, how you figured out like it was on a marketing side. What specifically do you look at?
Well, so I want to make sure I understood you first.
Yeah.
So if you get 100 leads, 50 should become appointments,
Yeah.
and then 30 become sales, or 30% of the 50.
30% of the 50.
So that's 18. What is that?
So,
Uh,
that would
15.
be, yeah, 15 sales.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to depend. Some will close a lot more than that, but uh, I design build, it could be that few. But I do like what you're saying.
It's
Like
just a general
50%.
it's just a general kind of thing that we do, just to have an idea. Obviously, if someone's order value is, like, much higher, their close rate might be lower, or if, like, they're not a great appointment setter, it might not be, you know what I mean? So
Or if you have a design contract in there, then that changes the
that's true,
numbers.
yeah.
But I like your general thing that says, "Hey, when you're marketing with us, you've got to get your qualifying figured out because 50% probably aren't a good fit." And it depends on the economy, right? If
Yeah.
we're in a juiced economy, maybe 65% will sell, and if we're in a bad economy, maybe only 45%. Uh, so I like that a lot. And so how I solved it with my client and friend Pete, what a great guy. The guy just walked the Grand Canyon rim to rim last year. And he's
Oh,
like,
that's
and I want to do it again, but on a different mountain top. He's going to do it in New Hampshire or something. Just absolutely great guy. Um, and so I just kept asking him why he had a sales problem. It's the 5 times why. I
mhm.
probably only had to ask him 3 times, and we got down to the truth. So it's a never accepting the first answer
That's
as the not that he was the wrong answer, but it was more of a general,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
General answer. Then you get more and more specific each time you ask. And then when you get really specific, you're like, okay, now I understand the problem.
Yeah. No, that's really good for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. You've got this book that's all about hiring, it's like how to become a destination company. With our clients, sometimes what we'll do is like run marketing campaigns that like can get them candidates and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But what we tell them is, and I think that's kind of like what your book is about, is we tell them like you should be a company though that someone actually wants to work for, because we have
Right.
some guys where they're like, oh man, like no one wants to work these days, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, no offense, man, but like maybe it's just because you're not a great leader. Like
Nobody wants to work for you.
I don't want to say it like that, but yeah. So like, what do you kind of have to share about that? Like,
Well,
your
it-
5 second spiel on that.
yeah, 5 second. Right? Oh, yeah, I can solve that. Name that tune in 5 seconds. Uh, Become a Destination Company is the book, and it's how to build a company that employees want to plant and grow their careers at. And as Barry Schneider, a good client of mine, long-term client, uh, said to me once, he's like, "Oh," he read the book. He's like, "This is really about how to build a great company, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so the
Nice.
book really is about what it takes to be a great leader and build a great company. And there's only a small section on recruiting, and the rest is really about all the different aspects of the employee's journey in your company and your journey as a leader to be attractive. Um, and I would even add, and I've even, even since I wrote that book, probably 10 years ago, I've learned so much since then. And so I probably should rewrite that book. And that book has 7 pillars, and I'd probably put uh, certainly one more pillar in it that is
Nice.
not in the book.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been doing business anywhere near as long as you have. I started in 2016 as a one-man show, and now we have 6 full-time on payroll, and, like, just that experience for me, though, I've learned a lot in the past year for sure of
Yeah.
just, like, you know, yeah, like, how to have those tough conversations, you know what I mean? Tough conversations, how to, motivate different people. Not everyone's motivated by the same thing too, which is what I realized. Different people have different motivations, you know? So I think a lot of landscapers think like, "Well, I'm paying this guy, like, why isn't" you know what I mean? And it's like, well, maybe the money's there, but maybe something else isn't there or vice versa or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Maybe
So
you're not a nice person. I'm making that up, but you're not.
yeah, you know, so it's, so I find that really interesting. So and I do think that having, like, great marketing can also attract really great talent too, because 'cause we've seen that where we're running, like, marketing for a client, and then they'll actually get, like, inbound candidates being like, "Hey, like, this looks like a good company to work for," like, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, totally. You have to, and that's why people really love joining our peer groups because a lot of what we talk about um, is about everything that goes into building a great company to attract, retain, coach up, and develop great employees. And so in my different peer groups, we're all on WhatsApps, and I could pull up a WhatsApp from any group, and there'll be questions going on back and forth. And I'm just going to make a little bet with you here. I bet half the questions are somehow people related. Uh, let's see here. Well, okay, here this one's about software. This one's about takeoffs. Okay, this there's a whole bunch on takeoffs, but let's see. Company cam. Okay, they're not all about people, but it's just on one of them. But trust me, uh,
yeah,
I'm in. It's people are the biggest issue. Uh, right here's one about sales management. I have my sales symposium coming up, so that's about people and you know, uh, and how to. And here's one about what do you pay your people. So we do benchmarking around the
nice.
different positions and what people pay, and so the peer groups are very helpful for upping your game on recruiting strategies or tactics,
Yeah.
plus all the strategies into building a great company.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. How often in your coaching or like things that you're doing is it coming up where it's mostly just like, I feel like a lot of the issues that entrepreneurs struggle with are more like personal issues that start to show up in their business essentially. Like, is that a thing that comes up often as well, where you're like breaking through ceilings, so to speak, where, you know, they don't think that something's possible. And then because I'm in a peer group as well for marketing agencies, and I know for myself, it's like sometimes I don't think something's possible, and then someone else will be like, "Oh, I'm doing that." Like it's easy to do that, you know, and it expands your thinking. So I'm sure that that probably comes up all the time, where it's like it's mostly in between the ears, right?
Well, definitely. I mean, 1,000%. Everyone's business, every owner's business is a reflection of them, the good and the ugly. And every owner has a blind spot that eventually gets in the way, in a big way. But we also have our own foibles that are kind of bleed out from our personality. And, some work for you and some of your personality quirks, and some work against you. in terms of mindset, that is a whole separate great topic. When we coach companies, we help them set their visions, and some have visions that are just too outlandish. We're like, wait,
Yeah.
wait, where are you going with that? Let's, let's not. Yes, you have a 20-year vision, but how about a 5-year vision or a
Yeah.
3-year vision? Let's go kill it, now. And others have a vision that is, um, they need permission to dream bigger.
Yeah.
They may see it or not see it, but we help them either way. We help them see it because we're looking at the jar, at you in the jar. We can read the label, but you're inside the jar. When you're inside the jar, you can't even see the outside of the label.
Yeah.
So we have that perspective, and we've helped people build lots of businesses. So we know it's possible and from multiple angles. But that is for sure a big one, helping people, um, giving entrepreneurs permission to dream, showing them uh, techniques for turning the dreams into actual business strategies, right?
Yeah.
The book, The One Thing.
Yeah.
I don't think every company should only have one strategy, but some have too many strategies.
Yeah.
And so you've got to prioritize what you're going after, and the strategy has to ring true and be scalable. And so all that, like everything has some mindset connected to it.
Yeah. When we're working with clients too a lot, it's like I find they have like super outlandish goals, but they have no idea how to materialize that. And so sometimes they'll say like, yeah, I want to get 200 leads per month, from my Facebook ads or something. And then I'll kind of show them and be like, okay, like here's what that would look like in terms of like an investment, just so you understand and like what could come of that. And then oftentimes when we dive into that more, they'll be like, oh, like I actually don't really need that. What I really want is just to be able to hire this guy so I can step out of the field, and then be in an office and like just do the sales and like run the team. Or it's like, oh, okay, now we're getting closer to like what you actually want out of this, right? Instead of just saying some number or goal that you heard like some other guy say, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
To be a good consultant, you've got to be a good salesperson,
Mm,
meaning you've got to be able to ask those questions that you were just saying. If you're an order taker as a salesperson, you will fail as a consultant and coach. You, you listen to what they're saying they want and need, but to help them get what they need, the path is going to be different generally than what they're going to tell you what they think the path is.
yeah. And we don't mind too, like we don't mind working with clients to work with like the specific things that they want. But if they tell us, I'm sure you are up against this, it's like they want it done their way. And it's like, okay, but just so you know, like this is what's gonna happen if you do it that way. You know what I mean? It's like some of the stuff that we do, it's like you change one thing and it's like, oh, like you're gonna get less leads coming through. If you add like 3 questions to the form, that is gonna impact how many people come through and things like that. So like I think that you probably deal with that all the time as well. Sometimes people want to change something and then you're like, oh, just so you know, like this is gonna be what the deal is with that then, right? The
Well, it's,
consequence.
it's good and it's good you have these answers.
Yeah,
You got to guide your clients to make the right decisions for them.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do you ever like run up against that with yourself? Like when you're telling your clients like, "Hey, I really think that this is going to be like right for you." Do they ever give you pushback or like what does that
Oh yeah, not all the time. It happens in a few different ways. Sometimes it happens up front until I prove myself, and then they're like, "Okay, now we're going to do it your way," and it's just an initial thing.
Yeah.
Others, it's a decision they just don't want to make. Intellectually, they might know I'm right, but they just can't stomach the pain, and then
Yeah.
they won't do what I'm saying, and then of course the problem gets worse.
Yeah.
So that happens. Other times they want to do it, but they need help getting the team's buy-in. And so I have to recognize why the pushback is happening,
Mm.
help them solve it. We work a lot with full teams to create full buy-in. It's really the best and only way. I mean, you can do one-on-one coaching and we do that, but it works best when you kick off with the team to create the plan so that you can implement with absolute speed because that's what's critical. So you get buy-in up front so you can be almost not ruthless, but semi-ruthless and fast in how you implement because we got that initial buy-in.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Just like switching gears a little bit here, something that's been like huge for us now implementing is AI, which I'm sure like you know a lot about, or at least like your clients are asking you a lot about that for sure. It's definitely changed a lot in terms of like marketing and, now we can do like AI video and stuff, which personally for us, we find actually still gets worse results than just doing like, or like organic,
Yep.
normal content. It's
Yep.
funny, like even running ads, the super doctored, polished ads don't work as well as just someone on their phone just being like, hey, this is Jeffrey. Like, this is kind of what we do.
Yep.
Um, I was just curious of like, what are you seeing kind of like where the market is going with AI, with landscaping and just in general? I know a lot of our clients are using it for like even just design mock-ups and stuff. For some of our smaller guys who don't have like a full 3D rendering thing, we'll tell them like, hey, it is still valuable to go to a homeowner and take a picture of their backyard and use ChatGPT to like mock it up and maybe use that as part of the sales process to some degree.
Yep.
So I was just curious, like, of
Yeah,
just what you're saying.
it's everywhere. I mean, you name a topic and we could talk about how to implement AI. By the time you publish this in 10 days, it'll probably have changed a little bit. Joke, no joke. Um, so you just mentioned marketing. I'll tell you a way you could use it in sales.
Yeah,
You could record your salespeople selling and download their conversations with their clients and show them what what they did well and where they can improve. You can create a rubric on what good sales calls should include that you can create. You can or you could have AI create it for you, or you could just intellectually sit down and create it. And then you can use that to train and develop your salespeople.
yeah. And those sales conversations are the best marketing messages too, as well. It's like all of those sales conversations that you put into AI are
Yeah.
probably like the best marketing conversations as well, you know?
Yeah, right. That's the whole Marcus Sheridan.
Yeah.
They ask and you answer,
Yeah. Do
right?
you know Marcus? He actually did a talk at a conference and we did like a training with him. It was really good.
I had him on my podcast a little while ago.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually spoke about this idea. Right. So you if it's why back in the day I used to like to do focus groups. The exact
Mm,
same reason. And I still do. When you
mm,
do a focus group with clients, you get feedback from them and you get needs discussions from them in their words.
yeah.
And so you can use those words, A, to share with your employees internally. Here's what our clients are saying in their words. It resonates so much stronger when it's coming from them. Uh, but then you can also use that in marketing, because they describe what they need and what they're looking for. And so, and now you can use it in, SEO and uh, getting found on Chat GPT.
Yeah. And I think a lot of landscaping businesses, they all look at like all the marketing tactics like, oh, Facebook, or should I be on TikTok, or should I be here? But at the end of the day, it's really like if you have that great message, going back full circle to what you were talking about, of like, the brand, the message, the service, like all these things. If you have all of that in place, then typically you can go into all these different platforms and you don't need to like game the system and do these different things that like people think really matter. Like sometimes people ask me like, "Oh, when's the best time to post or whatever on like these platforms?" And it's like that's always changing. The best time to post is like is posting good content that people find helpful, like realistically,
I
and so
I posted a video. I was with my daughter at the track. I like to race cars, and she took the video. You could barely see my car, but you could hear it. It was really loud. You could see it, but you had to look past the fence and the bleachers. And so I posted it on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, today's take your daughter to the racetrack day," and she's filming me on the track, and I put it up, and it's like, "Oh, I got 25,000 views." I'm like, "Well, I don't have that many friends." Like, that's kind of curious how many views that got so quickly. And it's like a 8 second, or 7 second me going down the track. And
yeah,
it was, I don't know. I posted it. I don't even, who knows when I posted it. So, like you say, good content is what matters most,
yeah,
and
and
natural, right?
yeah,
And the post wasn't clean. You could barely see my car. Uh, but it just had all the elements of something attractive for people and real.
yeah. I think authenticity is really what people are gonna be craving, like, the more and more that we go down the road of, like, AI and all this thing, and something that people forget oftentimes is that post you said, I think you said it got 250,000 views?
25,000.
25,000, sorry. Um, Imagine you in a room with 25,000 people. Like, oftentimes when we look at those views and stuff, we're like, "Oh, like, my YouTube video only got, like, 200 views or whatever," but can you imagine you staying in front of 200 people saying your message?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think every landscaper should remember too, is like, you know, sometimes you look at your phone and you see like these numbers and you might get discouraged or whatever, but like that's a lot of people if you have a great message. Yeah.
That's a lot of people if you have the right people and you're on point.
Yeah. Fully
You don't
agree.
need 200 people, like your client that wanted, what was it, 200 leads from,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, really? Like 200 good leads or 200 crappy leads?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Jeffrey, man, I feel like we could keep talking about this stuff, but I want to respect the time here. Is there anything that we didn't quite cover that maybe you would wanna leave people with, or did we cover most of the things that you kinda wanted to touch on for this chat?
I didn't come with a list. I just appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah.
Appreciate your knowledge on marketing. It sounds like you do a good job for your clients and they should listen to you. So that's good. And, if you want to get in touch with me, jeffreyscott.biz, B-I-Z, you can find more about our peer groups there and our sales symposium coming up. And we do a summer growth summit this year. It'll be in Detroit with two companies as hosts in August. Well, that'll be coming out soon. AI will be on the agenda, part of it. I'm part of the agenda. So, and I do a weekly newsletter that I've been doing for years. And so, if you want to learn something new every week, free to help you with your business and your life, then sign up for it from my website.
Yeah, I signed up to the newsletter, I'm looking forward to those, and I'll put the links that you mentioned there, I'll put it in the show notes below so people can check that out. So go check that out. Check out Jeffrey's website and have a look at some of the stuff he's up to.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, Jeffrey.